The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with the sound of laughter, but it was not the kind of laughter that brought joy to anyone who heard it. The massive dome-shaped room stretched high above the heads of hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy. Each species had sent their most important leaders and military commanders to this gathering, and right now they were all laughing at the same thing. Earth and its people. Admiral Kang Ho stood perfectly still in the center of the chamber. His dark uniform looked plain and simple compared to the glowing robes and crystal armor worn by the alien delegates around him. He watched as holographic images floated in the air above their heads, showing Earth ships that looked like old metal boxes with engines attached. The images rotated slowly so everyone could see how basic and primitive human technology appeared to be. A creature that looked like a giant lizard wearing golden armor leaned forward in his chair. This was the Prime Minister of the Vorthak Empire, and his yellow eyes gleamed with amusement as he spoke. His voice was deep and rough like gravel being crushed under heavy wheels. When he talked about Earth ships, he called them metal scraps floating in space that would break apart if someone looked at them too hard. The other aliens nodded their heads and made sounds of agreement. From the crystal section of the chamber came a sound like wind chimes singing in a storm. But the song was not beautiful. It was mocking and cruel. The beings from Nexus 7 were made of living crystal, and when they spoke, their voices joined together in harmony. Right now, that harmony was saying that human weapons were so old-fashioned, they belonged in a museum, not in space. The crystal beings had conquered 12 star systems with their energy weapons, and they thought Earth technology was a joke. Captain Lee Jun-woo stood behind Admiral Kang Ho, and his hands were closed into tight fists. He wanted to speak up and defend his home world, but he knew it would do no good. The aliens had already made up their minds about humanity. They saw only the old ships and basic weapons that Earth had shown them. They did not know about the secrets hidden deep beneath Earth oceans and mountains. The voting began, and one by one each alien species cast their decision. Earth would be classified as a protected species, which sounded nice, but really meant that humans would become pets of the galaxy. They would have no say in their own future and no right to make their own choices. The aliens would take care of them the same way people take care of animals in a zoo. Every species voted yes to this plan except for Earth, which only had one vote anyway. When the voting ended, many aliens came over to the human delegation with fake smiles on their faces or whatever they had instead of faces. The blob-like creatures from Gamma Prime oozed closer and offered to help Earth develop better technology in exchange for mining rights to all of Earth's precious metals. A group of tall, thin beings with 4 arms said they would protect human shipping lanes, but only if Earth gave them 3 of its best planets for military bases. Admiral Kang Ho listened to all these offers with a calm expression on his face. He thanked each alien group politely and said he would need to discuss their generous proposals with Earth government. But inside, he was thinking about something very different. He was thinking about the message he had received just before coming to this meeting. The message had been short and simple. The Titans are ready, back on Earth in a deep underground bunker beneath the city of Seoul. President Park Min-seo was receiving the same news that Admiral Kang Ho had just heard. The aliens had voted to make Earth a protected species, and they were giving humanity 30 days to surrender their independence. If Earth refused, then alien fleets would come to enforce their protection by taking over the planet completely. The room where President Park sat was filled with military commanders and government officials. Everyone looked worried and scared, because they all knew that Earth regular military forces could not fight against alien technology. The enemy had energy shields that could stop any normal weapon and plasma cannons that could destroy entire cities. The aliens also had faster ships and better communication systems. But then Dr. Kim So-young stepped forward from the back of the room. She was a small woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to know secrets that others did not. She walked up to President Park and whispered something in his ear that made his worried expression change into something that looked almost like a smile. The other people in the room could not hear what she said, but they saw the president nod his head and sit up straighter in his chair. On the surface of Earth, regular people were watching the alien broadcasts on their television screens and computer devices. The aliens were speaking to humanity in voices that sounded kind and caring, but the words they used made people angry. They talked about civilizing Earth and teaching humans how to live properly, as if people were children who did not know any better. In the city of Busan, a young engineer named Han Do-hyun was leading a group of protesters through the streets. They carried signs that said, "Earth will never bow, and humans are not pets." The crowd was growing, larger as more people joined them, and their angry shouts could be heard for blocks in every direction. Do-hyun stood on top of a car and told the crowd that they would fight against any alien who tried to control their planet. What Do-hyun and the other protesters did not know was that far beneath the ocean, near their city, massive machines were working day and night, building something that the aliens had never seen before and would never expect. The construction had been going on for years, in complete secrecy, and now it was almost finished, deep underwater in facilities that did not appear on any map. Thousands of workers were putting the final touches on humanity's greatest achievement. These were not the primitive ships that the aliens had laughed at in the Galactic Council. These were something entirely different, something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The workers moved quickly and quietly because they knew time was running out. The aliens had given Earth 30 days to surrender, and each day that passed brought the deadline closer. But the workers also knew that they were building something special, something that would make the aliens stop laughing at Earth forever. As night fell across the planet, the secret construction continued. The aliens in space were probably celebrating their easy victory over the primitive humans. They thought Earth would surrender without a fight, because human technology was so far behind their own. But they were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. The Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly in all directions, but beneath its dark blue surface something incredible was hidden. Commander Choi Yu-jin stood on a platform that was 300 meters below the waves, looking at the most amazing sight any human had ever seen. The secret facility was enormous, with metal corridors and working areas that went on for kilometers in every direction. Thousands of people worked here, but nobody on the surface knew this place existed. The facility had been built slowly over 15 years, ever since humanity had its first real contact with hostile aliens in the far reaches of the solar system. That contact had not been the peaceful meeting that most humans thought it was. Instead, it had been a brutal fight where Earth barely survived. The government had decided that day to prepare for what they knew would eventually come: a full-scale alien invasion. Dr. Lim Hae-won walked beside Commander Choi through the main construction bay, where the most important project in human history was nearing completion. She was the chief engineer for the entire facility, and her brilliant mind had solved problems that alien scientists had been working on for thousands of years. The secret was not using alien technology, but instead using human creativity and thinking in ways that aliens never could. The first Titan-class destroyer hung in its construction frame like a sleeping giant. It was nearly 2 kilometers long and covered with armor that could stop any known weapon. The ship had weapon systems that worked in ways no alien had ever imagined. While alien races used energy shields that could be overloaded, humans had developed kinetic penetrator rounds that punched through shields, like they were made of paper. Captain Nam Ji-hoon walked through the corridors of Soul Vengeance, which was what they had named the first Titan destroyer. He had been chosen to command this ship because of his perfect record in combat simulations, and his ability to think quickly under pressure. His crew was made up of 800 of the best people Earth had to offer. Each person had been selected for their skills and their absolute commitment to protecting humanity. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Yoon Se-jin, could calculate firing solutions faster than the ship computer. She had trained for 8 years to reach this level of skill and could hit targets that were moving at impossible speeds. The engineering chief, Park Tae-min, could repair any system on the ship even while under enemy fire. He had designed many of the ship systems himself and knew every wire and circuit by heart. In another part of the facility, Dr. Oh Soo-bin was working on the quantum processors that would give the Titan destroyers their greatest advantage. These computers could think and calculate faster than anything the aliens had ever built. They could analyze enemy ships and find weaknesses in seconds, then automatically adjust the ship weapons to exploit those weaknesses. The second Titan destroyer was called Busan Hammer, and it was designed for close-range combat. Its captain Lee Min-ho had been a test pilot before the project began, and he could fly the massive ship like it was a small fighter. The third ship, Incheon Storm, was built for long-range attacks and electronic warfare. Its captain, Jong Hye-jin, was an expert at confusing and disrupting enemy communication systems. The fourth and final destroyer was named Daegu, Thunder, and it specialized in defensive operations. Captain Kim Jun-soo had spent years studying alien battle tactics and knew exactly how enemy fleets would try to attack Earth. His ship could create defensive fields that would protect the other destroyers while they attacked, as the 30-day deadline grew closer. Intelligence reports showed that the aliens were preparing a massive invasion fleet. The Galactic Council had put together ships from 12 different species because they wanted to make sure Earth understood how hopeless resistance would be. 200 warships were gathering at the edge of human space, led by some of the most powerful vessels in the galaxy. Lieutenant Kim Yoon-ji worked in the intelligence section, and her job was to intercept alien communications. What she learned from listening to enemy transmissions made her both angry and hopeful. The aliens were not taking any special precautions because they believed Earth would surrender without firing a single shot. They thought human ships were so primitive that the invasion would be more like a parade than a battle. The alien fleet commander was someone called Torvak from the Hegemony Empire. He had conquered 15 different worlds and had never lost a battle. His ships had weapons that could destroy planets and shields that had never been penetrated. He was so confident about the invasion that he had not even bothered to study Earth defenses in detail. But the aliens were about to learn that their intelligence was completely wrong. The ships they had seen and laughed at were decoys built specifically to make Earth look weak and helpless. While they were mocking those primitive vessels, the real Earth fleet was preparing to show them what human engineering could really accomplish. Deep in the ocean facilities, the final tests were being completed on all 4 Titan destroyers. Every system had been checked and rechecked until the ships were perfect. The crews had trained together for months until they could work as smoothly as parts of a machine. The weapons had been tested on asteroid targets until the gunners could hit anything they aimed at. President Park Min-seo received daily reports on the progress, and each report made him more confident that Earth had a chance. The aliens thought they were coming to collect a helpless planet, but instead, they would find an enemy that was ready to fight back with weapons they could not imagine. The construction workers in the facility knew they were building something special, but most of them did not know exactly how special. Until now, no human weapons had ever been able to seriously damage alien ships, but the Titan destroyers were designed from the beginning to exactly that. They would use the alien overconfidence against them and strike before the enemy knew what was happening. As the final day of construction arrived, Commander Choi Yu-jin stood again on the observation platform watching as the last systems were installed on all 4 destroyers. In just a few more days, the alien fleet would arrive expecting to find a beaten enemy. Instead, they would find an enemy that was ready to teach them why underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. The secret beneath the waves was almost ready to rise. Space around Earth was eerily quiet, as the massive alien invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly where Earth intelligence had predicted they would appear. 200 warships materialized in perfect formation, stretching across several 1,000 kilometers of space. The largest ships were the size of cities and bristled with enough weapons to crack a planet in half. The smallest were still bigger than anything humans had supposedly ever built. Fleet Commander Torvak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Conquest, and stared at the sensor displays with growing confusion. Instead of seeing desperate Earth ships fleeing in panic or trying to form defensive lines, he saw absolutely nothing. The space around Earth was empty except for a few communication satellites and some scattered mining platforms. His second-in-command, Admiral Vextar, approached with a worried expression on her scaled face. She had been monitoring Earth communications and found them strangely quiet. Most species, when faced with overwhelming force, would be broadcasting desperate pleas for mercy or trying to negotiate surrender terms. But Earth was broadcasting nothing except normal civilian traffic. Torvak ordered his fleet to advance, slowly toward Earth while scanning for any signs of military activity. His ship spread out into a hunting formation that had worked successfully against dozens of other worlds. The plan was simple: surround the planet and demonstrate such overwhelming firepower that the humans would have no choice but to surrender immediately on Luna Base. Colonel Yang Hyun-soo watched the alien fleet through the most advanced sensor array humanity had ever built. The base was hidden inside a crater on the far side of Earth Moon, and the aliens had no idea it existed. Every ship in the enemy fleet was being tracked and analyzed by computers that recorded their energy signatures, weapon types, and crew compositions. The information flowed instantly to the 4 Titan destroyers that waited in their underwater hangars like sleeping monsters. Each ship had been positioned at a different location around Earth, so they could attack the alien fleet from multiple directions when the time came. The timing had to be perfect because they would only get one chance to surprise the enemy captain. Nam Ji-hoon sat in the command chair of Seoul Vengeance and watched his tactical displays as the alien ships moved closer to Earth. His crew was completely silent and focused. Every person on the bridge had trained for this moment for years, and they all knew exactly what they had to do. The waiting was the hardest part in the engineering section. Park Tae-min monitored the ship power systems and made final adjustments to ensure maximum performance when the battle began. The fusion reactors were running at optimal efficiency, and every weapon system showed green status lights. The kinetic penetrator rounds were loaded and ready to fire at velocities that would punch through any known armor. Lieutenant Yoon Se-jin had already calculated firing solutions for 12 different target ships. Her fingers moved quickly over the weapons control panel as she selected the most dangerous enemy vessels for the first attack wave. The alien flagship would be her primary target, followed by their heavy cruisers and carrier ships beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Busan Hammer was rising slowly from its hidden base. Captain Lee Min-ho felt the massive ship shudder slightly as it broke free from the construction platform and began its journey toward the surface. The ship had been designed for this moment, and every system was working perfectly. Captain Jong Hye-jin aboard Incheon Storm was coordinating with the other destroyer captains through quantum communication links that the aliens could not detect or intercept. The 4 ships would attack simultaneously from different directions, creating confusion and preventing the enemy fleet from organizing an effective response. As the alien fleet reached Earth upper atmosphere, their sensors finally detected massive energy signatures rising from the planet oceans. The readings were so large that many alien sensor operators thought their equipment was malfunctioning. Ships that big should not have been able to hide underwater, and definitely should not have been able to rise from the depths at such incredible speed. 4 enormous shapes breached the ocean surface like ancient sea monsters, awakening from deep sleep. Water cascaded from their armored hulls in massive waterfalls as they climbed rapidly toward space. Their engines left trails of superheated plasma that lit up the sky for thousands of kilometers. Each ship was larger than most alien cruisers and moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so massive. The alien fleet communications networks exploded with confused chatter as ship commanders tried to understand what they were seeing. These vessels did not match any known Earth technology, and their energy readings were off the charts. Some aliens thought they might be seeing reinforcements from another galactic power, but the ship's design was unlike anything in their databases. Torvak stared at his tactical display in disbelief as his computers tried to analyze the 4 approaching ships. The readings made no sense according to everything the Galactic Council knew about human technology. These ships should not exist, and yet they were. Rising toward his fleet with obvious hostile intent, Captain Nam Ji-hoon opened a communication channel that reached every ship in the alien fleet. His voice was calm and steady as he spoke, but every word carried the weight of humanity, determination, and anger. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to face a primitive and helpless species. Instead, they were about to face an enemy that had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. The message was simple and direct, but it sent chills through every alien who heard it. Earth had built these ships specifically to fight against galactic technology, and they had been designed by minds that thought in ways no alien could predict. The humans had used their creativity and ingenuity to create weapons that could defeat forces far larger than themselves. Soul Vengeance took point position with its 3 sister ships spreading out into attack formation. The moment of truth had arrived and humanity was about to show the galaxy that underestimating Earth had been a fatal mistake. The aliens had laughed at Earth defenses, but they were not laughing anymore. The trap had been sprung and there would be no escape. The first shot of the battle came from Soul Vengeance and it changed everything in an instant. Captain Nam Ji-hoon gave the order to fire, and Lieutenant Yoon Se-jin pressed the trigger that launched humanity's fury into space. The kinetic penetrator round accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed in less than 2 seconds and struck the alien flagship before their sensors could even register the attack. The round punched through the inevitable conquest energy shields like they were made of soap and tore a hole completely through the ship from bow to stern. The massive alien dreadnought that had conquered dozens of worlds suddenly found itself broken in half with its command section spinning away into space. Emergency lights flashed throughout both pieces as atmosphere vented into the vacuum fleet. Commander Torvak barely survived the attack by pure luck because he had been inspecting the lower decks when the round hit. His command bridge was completely destroyed along with most of his senior officers. The alien commander who had never lost a battle was now trapped in a crippled ship with no way to coordinate his fleet. The other 3 Titan destroyers opened fire simultaneously, and the results were devastating. Busan Hammer targeted the alien heavy cruisers with adaptive munitions that changed their properties while in flight. The rounds started as armor-piercing penetrators, but switched to electromagnetic pulse warheads after breaching the enemy hulls. 3 alien cruisers lost all power within seconds and began drifting helplessly. Incheon Storm specialized in electronic warfare, and Captain Jong Hye-jin used her ship's advanced systems to confuse and disrupt alien communications. The enemy fleet suddenly found that their ships could not talk to each other, and their targeting computers were giving impossible readings. Some alien ships started firing at their own allies because they could not tell friend from enemy. Daegu Thunder commanded by Captain Kim Jun-soo focused on the alien fighter carriers. His ship launched swarms of small interceptor drones that moved too fast for alien point defense systems to track. The drones penetrated the carrier hangar bays and exploded inside, destroying hundreds of enemy fighters before they could even launch. The aliens tried to return fire, but their weapons were designed to fight against other alien ships that used energy shields and predictable tactics. Human ships were different and moved in ways that alien computers could not calculate. The Titan destroyers used their incredible speed and maneuverability to stay ahead of enemy targeting systems. Lieutenant Commander Shin Bo-ra was the weapons officer aboard Busan Hammer, and she coordinated her ship attacks with deadly precision. Her adaptive ammunition systems could analyze enemy ships in real time and select the perfect warhead for each target. Energy-draining rounds for ships with powerful shields, kinetic penetrators for heavy armor, and virus programs for enemy computers. The human ships worked together like parts of a single organism, sharing targeting data and coordinating their attacks to maximize damage. Captain Lee Min-ho brought Busan Hammer in close to the enemy formation and used his ship's massive bulk to ram through a group of alien destroyers. His reinforced hull barely showed scratches, while the alien ships were crushed like empty cans. Major Kim Jun-soo launched from Soul Vengeance in his fighter squadron and led his pilots in attacks that defied everything aliens knew about space combat. Human fighters moved with creative unpredictability that confused enemy targeting systems. One moment they would be flying in formation, and the next they would scatter in all directions only to regroup behind enemy lines. The alien fleet tried to retreat, but found their escape routes blocked by Incheon Storm and Daegu Thunder, which had anticipated this move. Captain Jong Hye-jin had used her electronic warfare systems to disable the enemy hyperspace generators, trapping the entire invasion force in Earth's solar system. The aliens who had come to conquer humanity were now trapped and helpless. Within 3 hours of the battle beginning, over half the alien fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships were scattered and disorganized, with many of them drifting powerless in space. Human boarding parties led by Lieutenant Park Yoon-jung began capturing alien vessels to study their technology and take prisoners. The most shocking thing about the battle was not just that humanity had won, but that they had won without losing a single ship. The 4 Titan destroyers had suffered minor damage to their outer armor, but all their Major systems were still fully operational. The alien invasion force that was supposed to easily conquer Earth had been completely destroyed. Torvak was pulled from the wreckage of his flagship by human rescue teams and brought aboard Soul Vengeance as a prisoner. The alien commander who had conquered 15 worlds found himself in a detention cell looking through reinforced windows at the humans who had defeated him. He could not understand how such a primitive species had built weapons that could destroy his mighty fleet captain. Nam Ji-hoon stood in his command center and watched the final alien ships surrender or be destroyed. His crew had fought perfectly and their victory would be remembered forever, but he knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy would soon learn that Earth was no longer helpless and that humanity would defend itself with whatever force was necessary. Dr. Kim So-young monitored the battle from her underground laboratory and was already working on improvements to the Titan design. The victory had proven that human creativity and engineering could defeat superior numbers and technology, but she knew the aliens would adapt, and next time they would come prepared. The battle was over, but the war for humanity freedom had just begun. The galaxy had underestimated Earth and paid a terrible price. Now every alien species would know that humans were not the primitive pets they had thought them to be. They were a force that could stand against any enemy and protect their homeworld no matter what the cost. News of the battle spread through galactic communication networks faster than anyone could have imagined. Within hours, every major species in the galaxy knew that Earth had completely destroyed a hegemony invasion fleet. The same aliens who had been laughing at human technology just days before now stared at their communication screens in stunned disbelief. The crystalline beings from Nexus 7 held an emergency council meeting in their crystal palace on their home world. Their harmonic voices that had mocked Earth defenses were now filled with worry and fear. They had thought human weapons were primitive, but the battle recording showed technology that was beyond their understanding. The kinetic penetrator rounds had moved faster than their sensors could track. The Vorthak Empire called an immediate military alert and began moving their fleets away from human space. The lizard-like aliens who had conquered dozens of worlds were suddenly afraid that Earth might decide to attack them next. Their prime minister, who had called human ships metal scraps, was now ordering his scientists to analyze every piece of data they could find about Titan-class destroyers. Admiral Kang Ho found himself in a completely different situation when he returned to the Galactic Council. The same aliens who had ignored him and treated him like a primitive savage were now desperate to speak with him. Representatives from dozens of species crowded around the human delegation begging for military alliances and defense agreements. The blob-like creatures from Gamma Prime offered to trade their most advanced manufacturing technology for just one human kinetic penetrator round a group of 4 armed beings from the Centauri Collective promised to share their star maps and trade routes if Earth would agree to protect their merchant ships. The crystal beings offered to teach humans their energy manipulation techniques in exchange for defensive weapons. Captain Che Wu-shik, who had been appointed as Earth new diplomatic liaison, took great pleasure in politely declining most of these desperate offers. He remembered how these same species had voted to make humanity a protected species and had offered to civilize Earth in exchange for its resources. Now they were begging for protection from the civilization they had tried to dominate. The 4 Titan destroyers established patrol routes around Earth's solar system, and their mere presence was enough to deter any thoughts of future attacks. Enemy reconnaissance ships that approached human space quickly turned around when they detected the massive energy signatures. Word spread that Earth had more of these incredible warships and that attacking humanity would be suicide. Dr. Song Mi-kyung led the engineering teams that studied the captured alien technology from the destroyed fleet. The wreckage provided insights into galactic engineering that would advance human science by centuries, but more importantly, it showed the weaknesses in alien designs that could be exploited in future battles. Intelligence reports from Lieutenant Kim Yoon-ji showed that several alien species were now actively seeking peace treaties with Earth. The Hegemony Empire had lost over half their total fleet strength in the failed invasion and were facing rebellions on several of their conquered worlds. Other species saw this as an opportunity to break free from alien oppression. President Park Min-seo authorized the formation of Earth's first true space navy with Admiral Nam Ji-hoon promoted to overall fleet command. The success of the Titan destroyers had proven that humanity could defend itself, But it had also shown that Earth needed more ships to protect human interests across the galaxy. In the deepest underground laboratories, Dr. Kim So-young began designing the next generation of human warships. The Leviathan project was her most ambitious plan yet. These new ships would be 10 times larger than the Titan destroyers, and armed with weapons that could crack planets. The galaxy had seen what 4 human ships could do, and soon they would see what a full fleet could accomplish. The mining colonies in the asteroid belt reported that alien merchant ships were now approaching them with requests to establish trading posts. Species that had never shown interest in human goods were suddenly eager to buy Earth products and technology. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and everyone wanted to be on humanity good side. Captain Park Yoon-jung was promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's expanding fleet of captured alien vessels. Human crews were learning to operate enemy ships and adapt their technology for human use. Within months, Earth would have the most diverse and powerful fleet in known space, combining human innovation with alien technology. The Galactic Council that had once laughed at Earth defenses was now desperately trying to maintain peace as their member species panicked about the human threat. Some aliens suggested a preemptive strike against Earth before humanity could build more ships, but others pointed out that such an attack would likely result in the complete destruction of galactic civilization. Young Lieutenant Kim Tae-young received new orders to report for training on humanity's newest vessel. The first Leviathan-class superdestroyer was nearing completion in a new orbital shipyard that had been built using captured alien construction technology. The EC ship was so large it could be seen from Earth's surface with the naked eye. The galaxy had learned to fear and respect Earth defenses, but humanity was just getting started. The Titan destroyers had been built in secret over 15 years, but now Earth was building openly with resources and technology taken from their defeated enemies. Every day brought new ships, new weapons, and new capabilities that would ensure humanity never again faced extinction. The age of alien empires dominating weaker species was coming to an end, and a new age was beginning where Earth would enforce galactic justice and protect those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy had made the mistake of underestimating humanity, and now they would live with the consequences of that mistake forever. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the emergency session of the Galactic Council was very different from the last meeting. The great dome-shaped chamber was filled with the same alien species, but now their behavior had completely changed. Instead of arrogant laughter, there was nervous silence as the delegates waited for the human representatives to arrive. Admiral Kang Ho entered the chamber flanked by Captain Nam Ji-hoon and the other heroes of the battle. Their simple human uniforms looked more impressive than any alien decoration because everyone in the room knew what these humans had accomplished. The aliens who had once looked down on humanity now avoided making eye contact and kept their voices respectfully quiet. The Vorthak, Prime Minister who had called Earthship's metal scraps, was the first to speak. His deep, gravelly voice was much quieter than before, and he formally withdrew the resolution that would have made humans a protected species. He apologized for any misunderstanding and emphasized that the Vorthak Empire had always respected human independence. The crystal beings from Nexus 7 sang in perfect harmony, but their song was now filled with respect and admiration. They praised human ingenuity and creativity, while carefully avoiding any mention of their previous mockery. The blob creatures from Gamma Prime oozed forward to offer massive trade agreements that heavily favored Earth. One by one, each alien species in the Council offered reparations for the failed invasion. Some offered rare minerals, others provided advanced technology, and a few even offered to serve as tributary states under human protection. The same aliens who had planned to divide Earth resources among themselves were now giving everything. They had to avoid human retaliation. Admiral Kang Ho listened to all the offers with the same calm expression he had worn during the mockery, but this time, he was the one in control. He graciously accepted some offers while politely declining others, making it clear that Earth would choose its own allies based on their past behavior and future intentions. The Council voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership with all rights and privileges of an advanced galactic civilization. They also established a new category of protected status for species threatened by aggressive neighbors with Earth as the primary enforcer. Several smaller species that had been conquered by larger empires were immediately freed under human protection. Commander, Park Eun-jung, now promoted to Admiral, announced Earth's new policy toward galactic affairs. Humanity would defend itself and its allies with overwhelming force against any aggression, but would also share defensive technology with peaceful species. The days when strong aliens could bully weaker ones were ending. The Hegemony Empire representatives sat in the back of the chamber, looking defeated and broken. Their mighty fleet had been destroyed, and their conquered worlds were rebelling with human support. The empire that had dominated entire sectors of the galaxy was crumbling because they had underestimated the wrong species. Admiral Nam Ji-hoon presented the council with evidence of war crimes committed by various species during their conquests of weaker civilizations. A new galactic court would be established on a neutral world to try those responsible for genocide and slavery. Human judges would serve alongside alien ones to ensure fair trials. The session concluded with the signing of the new Galactic Charter, which established basic rights for all intelligent species and created enforcement mechanisms to protect those rights. Earth Titan destroyers would patrol key trade routes and respond to distress calls from any species regardless of their political affiliations. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many stopped to request private meetings with the human representatives. They wanted to establish embassies on Earth and send their best students to human universities. The species that had tried to civilize humanity now wanted to learn from them. Young Lieutenant Kim Tae-young received her final orders as she prepared to take command of the first Leviathan-class superdestroyer. The massive ship hung in Earth orbital shipyard like a metal moon visible to anyone on the planet's surface. Its weapons could destroy entire fleets, and its armor could withstand anything the galaxy could throw at it. Dr. Kim So-young watched the launch preparations from her new laboratory complex on Luna Base. The woman who had whispered secrets to the president now led the largest research organization in human history. Her teams were developing technologies that would keep Earth ahead of any potential enemies. For generations to come, the galaxy had changed forever because a few humans had refused to accept alien domination. The Titan destroyers still patrolled Earth space as a reminder that humanity would never again be helpless. The 4 ships that had destroyed an invasion fleet were now symbols of hope for oppressed species throughout the galaxy. President Park Min-seo addressed the planet from his office in Seoul, telling the people of Earth that their independence had been secured and their future was bright. Human colonies were being established on dozens of worlds, and Earth ships carried human explorers to the farthest reaches of known space. The age of alien empires was ending, and the age of human leadership was beginning. Species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years now looked to a young civilization for guidance and protection. Earth had proven that courage and creativity could overcome any advantage, and that underestimating humanity was a mistake no one would ever make again. The new galactic order was built on the principle that all intelligent life deserved freedom and protection. Those who threatened that freedom would face the fury of Earth fleet, and those who embraced it would find humanity to be the most loyal ally they could ever hope for. The galaxy had laughed at Earth defenses until the Titan destroyers entered the field. Now they would never laugh at humanity again.